कितने बनाने आज?
Hare Krishna. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskrityam Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Udirayet. नष्टप्रायेषु अभद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवतीरुत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकीम् कृष्णाय वासुदेवाय देवकी नन्दनाय च नन्दगोपकुमाराय गोविन्दाय नमो नमः. Hare Krishna. Welcome all of you to the Sunday morning Bhagavatam class. Sunday evening for me here. I am very happy to be here with, I think this is the first class after I moved to India that I am giving. Today we are reading from second canto, chapter 7, titled Scheduled Incarnations with Specific Purpose. That's the title, right? Specific Functions. Scheduled Incarnations with Specific Functions. Text 39 and text 40. We'll recite the verses, read the purport, and then we'll do some discussion. Text 39, I'm showing it on the screen. Sarge tapoham rishayo navaye prajesha sthane tadharma makamanva amara vanisha ante twadharma haramanyu vasasuradya maya vibhutaya imapuru shakti bhaja. Reading the translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada. At the beginning of creation, there are penance, myself, Brahma, and the Prajapatis, the great sages who generate them. During the maintenance of the creation, there are Lord Vishnu, the demigods with controlling powers, and the kings of different planets. But at the end, there is irreligion, and then Lord Shiva and the atheists full of anger, etc. All of them are different representative manifestations of the energy of supreme power, the Lord. Purport by Srila Prabhupada, Prabhupada ki Jai. The material world is created by the energy of the Lord, which is manifested in the beginning of the creation by the penance of Brahmaji, the first being in the creation, first living being in the creation. And then there are the 9 Prajapatis, known as great sages. In the stage when the creation is maintained, there are devotional service to Lord Vishnu or factual religion, the different demigods and the kings of different planets who maintain the world. At last, when the creation is preparing to wind up, there is first the principle of irreligion, then Lord Shiva, along with the atheists full of anger. But all of them are but different manifestations of the Supreme Lord. Therefore, Brahma, Vishnu, and Mahadeva, Shiva, are different incarnations of the different modes of material nature. Vishnu is the Lord of the mode of goodness. Brahma is the Lord of mode of passion, and Shiva is the Lord of the mode of ignorance. Ultimately, the material creation is but a temporary manifestation meant to give the chance of liberation to the conditioned souls who are entrapped in the material world. And one who develops the mode of goodness under the protection of Lord Vishnu has the greatest chance of being liberated by following the Vaishnava principles and thus being promoted to the kingdom of God, no more to return to this miserable material world. Text 40. Vishnonuvirya gananam katamo ratiha yah parthivan yi api kavir vimame rajamsi chaksham bhayasva rahasas kshalatah triprashtam yasmat trisamya sadanat urukampayanam. Translation. Who can describe completely the prowess of Vishnu, Even the scientist who might have counted the particles of the atoms of the universe cannot do so, because it is he only who in his form of Trivikrama moved his leg effortlessly beyond the topmost planet Satyaloka up to the neutral state of the three modes of material nature, and all were moved. Purport by Srila Prabhupada, Prabhupada ki jai. The highest scientific advancement of the material scientist is atomic energy. But the material scientist is not able to have an estimation of the particles of atoms contained in the whole universe. But even if one is able to count such atomic particles, or is able to roll up the sky like one's bedding, even then one is unable to estimate the extent of the prowess and energy of the Supreme Lord. He is known as Trivikrama because once in his incarnation of Vamana, he expanded his leg beyond the highest planetary system, Satyaloka, and reached the neutral state of the modes of nature, called the covering of material world. There are 7 layers of material coverings over the material sky, and the Lord could penetrate even those coverings. With his toe, he made a hole through which the water of the causal ocean filters into the material sky, and the current is known as sacred Ganges, which purifies the planets of the three worlds. In other words, no one is equal to the transcendently powerful Vishnu. He is omnipotent, and no one is equal to or greater than him. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjana-shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kada Mahyam Dadati Swapadantikam. Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpatarubhyasya Kripa Sindhubhya eva cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Mukam karoti vachalam pangum langhayate girim yatkripatamaham vande Shri Guru Dinatarinam. Hare Krishna. I offer my respectful obeisances at the feet of all the assembled Vaishnavas. I find this very emotional because I'm sitting on the other side of the planet, and you are all sitting in Naperville, and still we are able to connect with each other through this Sunday Bhagavatam class. I'm very, very grateful to Premananda Mataji and all the devotees who have allowed me to stay there for 3.5 years and develop very deep connections with all the Vaishnavas and Vaishnavis there. I cherish all those moments every day, and I keep talking about that everywhere. In the last 1 month, this is what I have done. I go everywhere and speak about the glories of all the Vaishnavas from ISKCON Naperville. Thank you very much for giving me once again this opportunity. And I would like to start with a little bit of brief report in what happened in the last 40 odd days after I returned from the US. Before that, belated Happy Janmashtami and Srila Prabhupada's appearance. I hope it went very well in our center in Naperville. Here in ISKCON Tirupati also, it was a grand festival for 2 or 3 days, and the whole streets were like filled with thousands and thousands of people. It was expected that around 3 lakh visitors, 3 to 4 lakh visitors came to temple on the last 2 days during Janmashtami and Prabhupada's appearance. It was a very grand festival, and In the last 1 month, I came here. I fell sick for 4 times, I guess, because of change in climate, change in everything here. And I also got a chance to visit Tirumala, Lord Balaji's abode, I think 4 times, till now 4 or 5 times maybe. The day when I just landed in Tirupati, I got an opportunity. Some service came up where I was, I got an opportunity to visit Tirumala. It was after 3.5 or 4 years I'm visiting this place. I felt so surcharged with the potency of the holy names constantly going on. Everyone chants Govinda, Govinda. And it was so enchanting to see that. We also got an opportunity to walk the hill. It took almost like, with children, it took almost like 6 or 7 hours. Then I also, Premananda Mataji was requesting me to pray for the entire congregation in Naperville, and then also pray for the speedy finishing of our temple construction, so we can all have Radha Shyam Sundar sitting on the altar and blessing all of us. I prayed for all the Vaishnavas and Vaishnavis from ISKCON Naperville, and of course I joined my institute. It is like still in the very beginning phase. I haven't started doing much there. Then I also started looking into some preaching opportunities here. There are a couple of brahmacharis who are staying in ISKCON Tirupati, who came from ISKCON Pune. They are handling some of the preaching activities here, and today I happen to meet those devotees and have a long discussion on plans and what are we going to do in future. So I'm very grateful that Lord has Lord is again going to engage me in some preaching service here. I seek blessings of all the devotees so I can serve Srila Prabhupada's mission in some way or other wherever I am on this planet. So getting into today's verses, this section is speaking about this is a dialogue from Brahma. Brahma is talking to Narada about different incarnations of the Lord. If we see up to this section, up to the shloka 38, Brahma keeps describing one after the other so many incarnations, and Prabhupada gives very beautiful purports, long purports about various incarnations. Brahma speaks about he starts with Varahadev. He speaks about Narsingadev, Matsya Avatar, Kurma Avatar, Lord Ramachandra, Krishna's pastimes, and then he also speaks about Dattatreya. He speaks about Parashurama. So many incarnations, and these are kind of concluding verses of that section. Here he's saying that he's just trying to explain all the incarnations that we see are nothing but the manifestations of the energy of the Supreme Lord. So in the translation, it says, at the beginning of creation, there are Pinens, myself, and the Prajapatis. Actually, we may think that by reading this sentence alone, one may think that, okay, Brahma was in the beginning of the creation. There was no one for him. He's the first creator. But then we get clarified at the end of the translation. And he says the great sages who generate. So these were there at the beginning of the creation. Then during the maintenance of the creation, there are Lord Vishnu, the demigods with controlling powers, and the kings of different planets. But at the end, there is irreligion, and then Lord Shiva, and the atheist full of anger, etc. Now he says, this one, all of them are different representative manifestations of the energy of the Supreme Power, the Lord. So here he's saying, although there is beginning, maintenance, and end of the creation, because you see the creation, the word itself means it is created by someone. So this has been the idea that is perplexing modern science. Why do we call this as a creation, first of all, if it was not created by someone, right? So basically this word creation has been existing for some time, even before scientists started discussing about various theories that they are talking about today, that creation was not created. It was actually, it came into existence by chance. This is what many scientists talk about today. Then here Brahma is saying that in the beginning he was existing with Prajapatis. So if someone have come across this, there is one short clip of Gaur Gopal Prabhu where he says, starting is so simple, stopping is also so simple, but when it comes to maintenance, it is so difficult. He says, he gives an example of all of us trying to take a New Year resolution of going and doing, exercising every day. And then he says, first day I start with dumbbells, I start with push-ups, I start with cardio, all these things. And then after 1 week, slowly it ठंडा हो जाता है, it gets slowly declining. And after some time we say that, oh, next year again we'll take the same resolution, saying that, okay, let me start again. So this is how, generally this is the tendency of people who are in the mode of passion and ignorance. When they have some push from inside, they start, but then they can't maintain it for long, because for maintenance, mode of goodness is required. Anything which has been going on successfully for so many years, we have to understand that there is mode of goodness behind it. Just like, exercising is one example. Let's say our chanting in the morning, or let's say attending Mangalarti. I'm not saying I am in mode of goodness, because I fail so many times, but then it shows how much in mode of passion and ignorance I am. So one day we start saying that, okay, I will chant early in the morning every day, but then after some time it just goes down. And then again we start. Sometimes we may be able to go for, some span, let us say a few months. That requires a lot of goodness actually, person. So that's why it is said that anything that requires maintenance is it has to be in mode of goodness. Without mode of goodness, nothing can be maintained. Now we are going to get beautiful temple of Radha Shyam Sundar. Starting is easy. Collecting funds, I know it is difficult. It's not like I'm not trying to minimize the efforts of those devotees who are working hard day and night to get the funds, get the construction happen, manage everything. This is all so much hard work that we are seeing. Many devotees have been working tirelessly, starting from temple president to, very insignificant devotees whose names also we don't. Everyone is working to get the temple built, but then that is only the beginning. That is only the start. What goes into it is maintenance. It has to go on for, we expect it to go on for generations, right? That requires a lot of goodness. Otherwise, it's not possible to sustain. Anything that is sustainable that we see in this world, it has to be built on the platform of goodness. Without goodness, we cannot sustain anything. Everything starts and stops and starts and stops. You all can personally see in your own lives. I have seen it many times in my own life. We all have experienced that many things in our life, they just start and then they stop. Again they start, again they stop. With a lot of effort we start again, and again it stops. That simply shows that we are not actually acting on the platform of goodness. If we are acting on the platform of goodness, sustainability is the background of goodness. It is constantly there. So I'm sure every one of us can relate to what I'm saying. It's very difficult without goodness to sustain anything. And here we see that Lord Vishnu is the here Prabhupada writes, Vishnu is the Lord of mode of goodness, Brahma is the Lord of the mode of passion, and Shiva is the Lord of mode of ignorance. What does it mean? We can see that Brahma creates everything. So creation requires passion. Anything that we want to create requires passion, and anything that we want to maintain requires goodness, and any destructive thing that requires ignorance, right? So in ignorance only people destroy things. Like, for example, one can destroy his or her health by smoking cigarettes. Everyone knows it, that smoking is injurious to health. Even on the cigarette packets it is written, smoking is injurious to health. But then the mode of ignorance pushes one to act in such a way from within to engage in destructive activities, right? So anything that is um, paving way for destruction is always in mode of ignorance. At the level of creation, the mode of ignorance is also required, because creation happens in cycles according to the plan of the Lord. So creation takes place by mode of passion, and the in charge for mode of passion is Brahma. And then if it has to sustain, if it has to be maintained, then Vishnu has to take charge. Otherwise, it's not possible to sustain it. But then when when the destruction has to take place, so that another creation happens. Right? For that, Lord Shiva comes and does his part. Right? So, if we see these the three principles, the three material modes are the building blocks or foundational principles for whatever we do in this material world. Nobody in this universe can claim that I am completely, thoroughly in mode of goodness only. Right? Even Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, all these modes are acting upon us in different situations, different circumstances, in different ways. But then some people who are like very elevated in their consciousness can sustain the mode of goodness, consistently over a long period of time, sometimes throughout their lifetime. And then these people are the ones who achieve great success. Even in material life, if we see, it's not possible to just be in passion and achieve success. Such success will only go away after some time. It is not sustainable. Even in the material world, actually. Let's say a person who is in business, if he wants to grow his business, passion is required. But if he wants to sustain his business, goodness is required. Yeah, if he just wants to grow and then fall down, only passion and ignorance are sufficient. He may earn some millions within no time, and then his business may collapse because he doesn't have goodness. Right? So basically, mode of goodness is mode of sustenance. Mode of passion is mode of creation, and mode of ignorance is the mode of destruction. And Krishna has created this world in such a way that these three modes are constantly existing, acting upon us continuously. And we can actually try to be or present in the mode of goodness for some prolonged period of time. And that is what is called yoga action. Right? Although mode of goodness is a material mode, it has no connection directly with the spiritual yoga process. But then mode of goodness is something like a railway platform, right? Like, for example, I am in Tirupati now. I want to travel to Hyderabad. I want to take a train. Now I'm sitting at my home doesn't qualify me to go to Hyderabad. It's not possible. I have to take an effort to go and catch the train which is there in the railway station. Train doesn't come here. I have to go there. And that needs some effort, right? Going on to the railway platform is like going into mode of goodness. From there, I can catch a train which takes me to the destination. That train is something like pure goodness, Suddha Sattva, right? So basically, we know that we have passion and ignorance within us, but to come to the mode of goodness, we can engage our passion and minimize our ignorance. So we can promote ourselves to a mode of goodness. Otherwise, because we cannot say that, okay, I will suppress my passion. Suppressing passion is not possible. It has to be channelized because passion is a very strong energy from within. Right? It cannot be suppressed completely. It can be engaged, it can be channelized, so it can assist the component of goodness that is there within us. So if we can do that, then we can be successful, whether in material life or spiritual life. Both places we can be successful. Why? Because we are channelizing the passion and then minimizing ignorance. Like, for example, sleeping is in the mode of ignorance. Now, do we need sleeping or not? We definitely need. Our body needs some resting time. So Prabhupada actually says in one place that if you sleep too much, you become lazy. And if you sleep too less, you become crazy. So that's what happens to us if we don't sleep, actually. We become crazy. So it has its own place. Mode of ignorance has its own place, but it has to be controlled by mode of goodness. In most people's lives in this world, the controlling modes are passion and ignorance, and goodness goes to the background. Ideally, in a devotee's life, the controlling mode should be the mode of goodness. And then passion and ignorance are channelized or engaged or used according to the need. Some body needs some rest. Similarly, mind needs some engagement. Actually, mind is representative of mode of passion, actually. So these things are there. If we see the scriptures, the kind of worship that people do are also in the three modes of three modes of material nature: mode of goodness, passion, and ignorance. We know that those who are in the mode of goodness, they naturally are inclined to worship Sitaram, Radha Krishna. Here we see Lakshmi and Padmavati and Balaji. these kind of incarnations of the Lord. They are naturally attracted to the Vishnu incarnations of the Lord. Sorry, Vishnu incarnations. And then those who are in the mode of passion, they are generally attracted to other demigods. Those whoever can fulfill the desire, my desire, is considered to be a great demigod. That's how it works. Like you see in India, it's very common to hear this from people. You go to any place, they say, oh, this deity is very powerful. Let's say Sai Baba, let's say some other Ganesh Ji. This deity is very powerful. And what is the measure of the power of the deity? The measure of the power is how properly or how nicely the deity facilitates in fulfilling my own desires. This is how people measure, isn't it? Like, how do they say this deity is powerful? They say that I desired for this and I got the result. This actually shows the people's mode of passion. In passion, we seek for things. We want to expand. That's the nature of mode of passion. And similarly, those who in the mode of ignorance, they do neither good for them nor good for others. So that's how it is. Now we see 3 examples, then it will be very clear what I'm talking about. So we see Prahlad Maharaj is the greatest of devotees. He's the king. He's like he has pleased Lord Vishnu, and Lord Vishnu took an incarnation just for this one boy called Prahlad. Right? He was so much in mode of goodness, absorbed in mode of goodness, that he was not disturbed by any kind of atrocities that his father was doing to him, right? But then the Lord appeared and he actually protected Prahlad. Prahlad never resisted. Whatever his father did, he never resisted. He never said that, oh, father, you are so cruel. Never he did that. He was always very respectful to his father, just followed the instructions. Even when father said, okay, take this poison and drink, he never said, oh, I don't want to drink. He said, he was just remembering the Lord, saying that, you are sleeping on the bed of snake, which contains all poison. And what this poison can affect me, he took that and he drank nicely. Right? So he never bothered about what will happen to him. He was always constantly thinking of worshipping the Lord. And then Lord for sure came and protected him. So a person who is in the mode of goodness naturally gets attracted to worshipping Lord Vishnu or his incarnations, right? So this example is like, this we see very common because we mostly discuss about the examples of those devotees who worship the Lord Vishnu. Like throughout Bhagavatam, we see those examples. Chaitanya Charitamrita, we see those examples. But then the other 2 examples, if I give, it becomes much more clear. We see the example of Hiranyakashipu. Whom did he worship? He worshipped Brahma to get benediction. What kind of benediction? That I don't want to die. Brahma said, I'm sorry, I die. I cannot give you the same benediction. I cannot give you this benediction that no, you cannot die. It's impossible. That's beyond my jurisdiction. That's what Brahma said. But you see the desire of Hiranyakashipu, he tried to manipulate that same boon and try to ask it in such a way that he got a life insurance policy. Correct? So basically, what is the desire? I want to live, I want to expand, I want to grow. So this is basically in the mode of passion. That's why he was worshipping Brahma. So, and the kind of worship also, we'll come to that a little later. Right? And third, we see the example of Bhasmasur. Bhasmasur or Prakasur. He worshipped Lord Shiva. And what was his desire? His desire was that on whomever head he places his hand, that person should die. That was his desire. Now you see the quality of desires from Prahlad to Hiranyakashipu to Bhasmasur. Prahlad had no desire at all. He was not asking for anything. Even when Lord came in front of him, he said, I don't need anything. Lord said, no, you have to ask something. What did Prahlad say? My dear Lord, please don't pull me into a business deal with you. I don't want this. I don't need anything. If you really want to give me something, please liberate my father. This is what he asked. This is the kind of desire that Prahlad had. And he was saying, Swastyasya Vishwasya Kala Prasidata Jayantu Bhutatma Shivam Mitodhiya Manasya Badrani Bhajatada Dokshaje Aveshatam No Matirapya Haituki. What he was saying? When Nrsimhadev asked him to find, ask for some benediction, he simply said, like, my dear Lord, let there be no envy in the heart of people. Let them all become servants of you. Please accept them as your servants. This was his desire, actually. He was not asking for anything for himself. He was neither asking that, okay, I want to live forever. Brahma could not give that to Hiranyakashipu, but Lord Vishnu could have easily given it to Prahlad. Nrsingadev could have easily given this benediction of living forever in the material world to Prahlad. But Prahlad's quality of desire was not that. He never wanted to exist in this material world. For him, both material and spiritual worlds are same. So that is the quality of desire of people in the mode of goodness. They know that this world is temporary. They know that everything will go away after some time. They know, like Jesus Christ said, they don't want to build houses on bridges. Bridges are supposed to be used for crossing from one side to the other side. This material world, this material body is just like a bridge. When Bhagavatam actually uses the example of a boat, right? It says the body is like a boat. What is the purpose of boat? Is it to become owner of the boat? Is the purpose of boat? No. Boat is supposed to be used to cross over the ocean, right? So similarly, the body is also compared to a boat. And this boat is supposed to take us, human body is supposed to take us from material to the spiritual world, right? So this is the quality of desire of Prahlad. Now you see compare it with the quality of desire of Hiranyakashipu. He wanted to lord over the material world, right? And that is mode of passion. Even after having it, he in fact he was ruling over everything. In fact, with the movement of his eyebrows, he was able to control the temperature of sun and moon. That was the kind of powers he got because of the benedictions of Brahma. But then he was still dissatisfied. This is the nature of passion, actually. How much ever a person in mode of passion gets, he still feels dissatisfied. And he was thinking the dissatisfaction is because of my 5-year-old child. No, it was not like that. He was constantly dissatisfied. But then when he saw Prahlad going against his will, then he got some opportunity to point out to someone saying that, okay, because of him, I am dissatisfied. He could have easily thought, if he's in mode of goodness, he would easily think that the whole world is under my control. This Prahlad, one by what he will do, leave him alone. No, that was not his way of thinking, because he was in mode of passion. So the mode of passion drives such people in that way, that I want control over everything. That's the kind of desire that people have. Today we see people in the material world. Most people fall in this category. I want control over everything, right? So that's the people in the mode of passion. Now coming to Bhasmasur, what kind of desires he had? Is it good for him that he places hand on someone and he dies? Not good for him. He doesn't get anything out of it, right? Is it good for others? No, it's not good for others also. So that's how people in mode of ignorance are. They can't think about what is good, what is bad. At least in mode of passion, people still have some sense of what is accepted in the society, that they consider as good. They don't want to refer to Shastra and all other things. But then they say, okay, maximum number of people are accepting something. I also want that. What is today's definition of success? It's this only. Whatever is accepted by many people, that is success. Many people think that having so much money makes me great. So that is success. That's how people are thinking. They are not thinking the plain, thought. They are simply saying, okay, many people say that having so many degrees is great, so let me have so many degrees. This is mode of passion. Many people think that having so much money is actually making them happy, so let me also have wealth. This is mode of passion. Mode of goodness, mode of ignorance, they don't even have this thought. What is good, what is bad? They can't even judge this one for themselves. What is my good, what is my bad? What is bad for me, what is good for me? They cannot judge this. And such people, their desires are also of this quality only, right? That's why they can't do good for them, they can't do good for others. Now, these are 3 examples I gave. First of all, we discussed about 3 deities as given in the purport here: Lord Vishnu, Brahma, and Shiva. And then we discussed about 3 examples of the followers of all these 3 categories. Vishnu, we discussed Prahlad; Brahma, we discussed Hiranyakashipu; and then Shiva, we discussed Bhasmasura. Now you see, Shastras also say that these people want to choose particular type of worship. Like, for example, Vishnu cannot be worshipped by bringing, meat, fish, and eggs and all this stuff. No Shastra recommends that. And people who are in the lower modes, like in the mode of ignorance, they are naturally attracted to consuming these things. But they want to do it in a religious way. So they choose the deity which accepts these things as offerings. And that is how they are attracted to Shiva and Durga. If you want to worship Lord Shiva, or not even Lord Shiva, if you want to worship Durga, the 5 M's are recommended in the Shastra. What are they? Matsya, Mamsa, Madira, Mura, Maithun. Matsya, fish. Mamsa is flesh of a goat or a sheep. Then Madira is intoxication. And then Mura is like parched rice. And then Maithun is like intercourse with the opposite sex. These are the 5 ingredients that are required to worship Kali, Durga in the form of Kali, or in those kind of incarnations. People who are attracted to this way of worship, they naturally choose to worship Durga. Why? Because there is I want to do these things in a religious way, right? So that kind of thought process goes on. I want to commit. I want to do what I want to do. If there is no deity of Durga, I simply consume flesh every day. But then I want to do it in a religious way, then Shastra gives me a provision saying that, okay, Durga is there, you can offer her. But then there is some restriction. You can only do it on Amavasya day in the middle of the night. So many things. So they say, okay, I want to show also, I am also a religious person. So for that, they follow the procedure which is given, and they are naturally attracted to that. So this is the kind of worship that people in the mode of ignorance do actually, right? That process of worship attracts them, because of which they are attracted to the deity also. And then, if you go to the mode of passion, how was Hiranyakashipu worshipping Lord Brahma? We all know it comes in Bhagavatam only. He was standing on one leg, controlling his breath. His flesh was eaten away by ants, right? It was so much in passion actually. Standing on one leg, and his head was emitting so much of fire, right? So these descriptions come in Srimad Bhagavatam. And that gives so much pleasure to them. They think that we are doing such a great thing. We are controlling our body. We are somehow, doing such a great austerity that we are able to control all these faculties of our body, and still we are able to worship, right? And that is how people in the mode of passion are. And this is the way of worship. They can do such great things, and that's how they choose worshipping in mode of passion, and that's how they are introduced to the deity who actually accept such kind of worship, like Brahma. They accept such kind of worship, right? Now you see the worship of anyone who is in the mode of goodness. We all worship Lord Krishna. We all worship Lord Vishnu, Lord Ramchandra. What is required? Krishna himself says in Bhagavad Gita, how do you worship me? How do you please me? Patram pushpam phalam toyam yome bhaktya prayachasi tadaham bhakti upahritam asnami prayatatmanaha. You don't need to have anything. You simply need to have bhakti. That's all. Whether you offer, like we see so many examples. Duryodhanaka bhogana kayo, rupa shaka vidurakara kayo. What is that? Krishna once went to Duryodhana. In fact, he did not go to Duryodhana. Duryodhana invited Krishna to have a grand feast at his place. But Krishna did not go. And you can imagine what kind of feast Duryodhana would have arranged. It was like, so many hundreds of items were prepared to the best of the cook's ability. And Krishna was asked to come and accept that. But what did Krishna do? He did not go. He just passed by that road, and then he went to the house of Vidura. And what was Vidura? Vidura was not there at home at that time. His wife was there, Vidrani. She was there. Vidura was a Shudra actually. He went to that house, and without notice, imagine if Prime Minister of India comes to our house. We feel nervous, right? So similarly, she was feeling nervous also. But then, out of that nervousness, she offered a fruit. But what she did, she took the peel of banana, she gave the peel to the Lord, and she threw the banana away. I told it right. She threw the banana away and peel to the Lord. She gave the peel to the Lord. What did Lord do? Lord happily accepted the peel. So what was he looking for? He was not looking for tasty food. If that was the case, he would have gone to Duryodhana. He was looking for devotion, right? You take any example. You take example of Shabari. What did Shabari give to Lord Ramchandra? She gave half-eaten fruit. And Shabari belongs to the community of Shabaras. Shabara means they are like, they are the people who actually tame pigs, hogs. That's the that's the background with which she was coming, right? And it was not like, she's considered as Shudra. Shabaras are in fact much lower than Shudras also. But then Lord Ramchandra happily accepted half-eaten fruits from Shabari's mouth. Similarly, we see the example of Sudama. What did Sudama offer to the Lord? He simply gave some chipped rice, and Lord accepted it. He was eating one morsel after the other, one morsel after the other. Rukmini came and stopped him. My dear Lord, it's sufficient. With each morsel he ate, he increased the prosperity of Sudama millions and millions of times. Right? But then Rukmini stopped him, my dear, because she was unable to see. Rukmini is coming with a background of, Dwarka background. It's kind of, she's incarnation of Lakshmi. So she was having that Vaikuntha kind of mood. She was unable to see the Lord accepting such a cheap food. But then Lord Krishna was in ecstasy eating that chipped rice. Now you see the kind of offerings or the process of worship that is there recommended in the Shastra to worship Lord Vishnu in the mode of goodness. You don't have to have anything. We know the story of the Brahmana also, which comes in Chaitanya Charitamrita. He was preparing sweet rice in his mind. He did not have any ingredients, but Lord Vishnu accepted his offering, right? So we can see people, the three incarnations represent, or they had three different modes, right? They have different followers who have a particular type of desire, and they are attracted to a particular way of worship, and then they are attracted to that particular deity, and then desires are also like that. Their desires are also like that, right? So here, Lord Brahma actually was saying that in the beginning of the creation, there was Brahma like himself, but he was created by the Lord, because what Brahma does is called a secondary creation. Atra sargo visargasya sthanam poshanameva. So the 10th chapter of second canto, we read this first shloka itself, 2:10:1, I guess. It says about different the 10 components of the creation. So there it says that Sarga is the primary creation, and Visarga is the secondary creation, which is done by Brahma. It's something like very easy to understand. I'll give a simple example. Like I am living in a rented house now. Now, by the time I moved from US to India, this house is already there, right? And in fact, in my house, even the furniture is also given. That is also there. I come here and I live here, and then I do all my activities here, right? I go to office. I have my family. I have my children, my parents. Then we worship the Lord. All these things are there. Now, can I claim that I am the creator of this house? Definitely not. Someone created it, already put it there. I came and occupied the house. Similarly, by the time Brahma was created, the 14 planetary systems were already there. Right? They were already there. The modes of material nature were already there. And all the facility that is required to create was already provided by Lord Vishnu to Brahma. And then Brahma was given the task of assigning bodies to different living entities based on their karma. So he had to calculate what is the karma. He had to see what kind of body is fit. Even, in fact, the types of bodies were also predefined. 84 lakh species were already created, like predefined. Brahma had to just template them, take the template and give that body based on the desire and what is the karmic bank balance of that particular living entity. That's what Brahma does actually. So although he is called the creator, but then that requires passion, and that's why Brahma is given that task, right? So Vishnu already created all this. Everything was properly created. But then when Brahma started creation, then Lord Shiva also appeared through the anger of Brahma. And then Brahma said, you cannot stay here because now I am busy with creation. If you keep annihilating what I created, it's something like you go to a function or a festival or some gathering where prasadam is offered. Here, traditionally in India, we all know that they are made to sit in a line, and then banana leaves are put in front of them and the food is offered. Now imagine one person is putting banana leaves and the second person is removing the leaves, even without anyone eating anything. That doesn't make any sense, right? So that's what Lord Shiva was doing actually. Brahma was creating and Shiva was destroying. So then he said, oh Rudra, stay in a place. I will give you 11 places. You can stay in those places. Be calm for till the end of the creation. When the end of creation comes, I will call you. And Rudra comes and he actually annihilates the entire universe with his dance, right? So one kind of dance creates, one kind of dance gives so much joy. Like when Krishna was dancing on the hoods of Kaliya, it's the source of joy for all the Vrajavasis, right? That's why he is called Vrindavana Natavara. He was dancing on the hoods of Kaliya. Imagine, it's not easy. Even a perfect Bharatanatyam dancer cannot dance on the hoods of a snake. They are very slippery, very cold. And the snake was trying to eat Krishna, right? But then Krishna was doing that. This is one kind of dance. But then there is other kind of dance which is performed by Lord Shiva, who is called Nataraj. Similar name, right? Vrindavan Natavar and Nataraj. Nataraj is also, it's a similar name. But then his dance is called Pralaya Tandava. And the purpose of the Tandava is to annihilate the entire creation, right? And with a dance, he can do that. So that's the power, vested in him by the mercy of the Supreme Lord, right? So these are the description of three modes. We'll just go to the next shloka, next purport, and then we'll conclude. I'll give some time for question and answer. I just wanted to share one small thing with this. This is amazing shloka actually. Who can describe completely the prowess of Vishnu? Even the scientist who might have counted the particles of the atoms of the universe cannot do so, because it is he only who in his form of Trivikrama moved his leg effortlessly beyond the topmost planet, Satyaloka, up to the neutral state of the three modes of material nature, and all were moved. This was during the incarnation of Vamana. After Lord incarnated as Vamana, took all the property of Bali Maharaj, then he became Trivikrama. Trivikrama is the incarnation of Lord, where he occupied the entire universe with his 3 steps. In Kanchipuram, there is a temple called Ulagalanda Perumal. This is a very special place. Ulagalanda means it's another name, Tamil name for Trivikram, right? One who occupied the entire universe. Perumal is the word used by Tamil-speaking people, and all the Alvars use the same name, Perumal. Perumal means is another name of Lord Vishnu, right? He is big Lord. That's the meaning actually. Ulagalanda Perumal means the big Lord who occupied the entire universe. There is a deity in Kanchipuram of Ulagalanda Perumal. This deity is very amazing actually. This deity is literally the deity of Trivikram, where one leg is on the ground and one leg is in the sky. The deity is like that. Can you imagine? It's like that. One leg is on the ground and the other leg is in the sky. And it's such a huge deity. Huge means huge. You can't believe how big it is. If you see the deity, you literally feel like, am I standing in front of the real Trivikram? It's such a huge deity actually. Huge temple, huge deity. So this deity, this Lord as Trivikram, pierced the universe at the time of delivering Maharaj Bali, when he was covering the entire universe. To show that he actually pierced the universe, he actually pierced the covering, and from there the water of the what is that river called? The Karana Ocean, right? So that's what comes down. Yeah, the Karana Ocean, the causal water filters into the material sky. Prabhupada writes here. This toe he made a hole through which the water of the causal ocean filters into the material sky, and current is known as the sacred Ganges, which purifies the planets of the 3 worlds. So Lord actually brought river Ganga by piercing the universe in his Trivikrama incarnation. And we somehow feel so qualified with our advancement in material science that we can describe the Lord. And if he doesn't fit in my brain, he doesn't exist. This is so childish actually, right? Even if someone can count all the particles of the universe, it's impossible to understand even a particle of the Lord actually, because that's the immense potency of the Lord. Here, in fact, towards the end, Prabhupada writes, he is omnipotent and no one is equal to or greater than him. Parasha Shaktir Vividhaiva Shuyate Swabhavaki Jnana Bala Kriya, it is said. Lord Vishnu has Parasha Shaktir Vividhaiva Shuyate. They are unlimited in number. Nobody can count them, say that, okay, this is the amount of power Lord Krishna has. No, it's impossible, right? Natas Samasya, Natasya Karyam Karanancha Vidyate, Natas Samasya Adhikasya Drishyate, it is said. Natasya karyam karanancha vidyate, that there is nothing that Lord cannot do. Like many times people ask, can Lord create a square circle? There is an article by Chaitanya Charan Prabhu. If you want, you can Google it and find out. Can Lord create a square circle? He wrote an article on that. And he shows how we try to fit Lord in our small brain and think that he doesn't fit in my brain, so he doesn't exist. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Maharaj used to give the example of Dr. Frog. Prabhupada quoted it several times. There is this Dr. Frog who was trying to measure the length and breadth of Atlantic with the measure of his well. He is living in a well and he thinks that such a big body of water like Atlantic exists. It should be possible to measure it with the diameter of my well. That's what he was thinking. And how many times Atlantic is bigger than the well? We are all like that only. We are in the material world thinking that we understand the entirety of the universe, but it is impossible. We haven't even scratched, even with hundreds of years of material advancement now, we haven't even scratched a little bit of what is existing in the universe. But then we proudly boast that Lord doesn't exist, Krishna doesn't exist, God is not there. If he is there, why there is so much misery? So many different concepts people use. These are all actually useless. Most useful, beneficial thing is Sarvadharman Parityajya Mamekam Sharanam Vraja, because we can't understand Lord. It's impossible. We can't understand. How much brain do we have to understand actually? Right? So Lord keeps expanding his pastimes unlimitedly. It's impossible to understand Lord. So the best we can do is Sarvadharman Parityajya Mamekam Sharanam Vraja Aham Tvam Sarva Papebhyo Moksha Ishanam. Depend on Krishna and he will reveal to us. In fact, there are two kinds of people. They are very great believers of God, and then some misery happens in their life. They say that no, God doesn't exist because such misery happened. And then there are other kind of people also. They are atheists, and they, some misery happens to them, immediately start believing in God. They say that, oh my dear Lord, you alone can protect us. Who is better? The second category is better, right? Although they lived as atheists throughout their lives, at least at some point they came to understanding that okay, there is some higher power. There is someone who is controlling this universe. Yeah? Other than, but there are other people who are so puffed with their ego, and they think that I worship Lord, because of which Lord became great. That's how they think actually, and that's how when Lord gives some test, some punishment, at that time they lose faith in God. I'll give one example and conclude to these two people. There was this worker who is working in the ground floor, on the ground, and next to him is like a big building, some 30-40 stories high. And now the owner is on the top. He is trying to call the person working on the ground. But then this fellow was not able to hear anything. So what did the owner do? He threw a 500 rupee note. And then this fellow, this worker, he saw this 500 and put it in his pocket and started working. He did not even consider who gave me this one. He did not even try to look up and see where did it fall from. He did not do that. But then the owner was very intelligent. He took a small stone, and threw it on the worker. As soon as the stone came and hit on his head, he immediately looked, hey, who is that? Right? So this is how people in the material world are. As long as comforts keep coming, we never question that where is this comfort coming from? Who is giving me this comfort? In fact, Lord is giving all these comforts to us. Right? So who created the property of wool? Wool, which comes, where we use it to cover our bodies in winter. Right? Krishna created that actually. Somebody must have created. This is creation. At that time, we don't question. If there is happiness, we don't question. And that's why Lord throws some stones on our head. So we can turn to Lord, saying that who is this who is giving misery? Everyone asks the same question. If Lord is there, why there is so much misery? Like that they ask. Nobody asks if Lord is there, why there is so much happiness? Or there is happiness, which implies that there is Lord. That nobody says. They simply say that if Lord is there, why there is so much misery? This kind of questions people ask. So for such people, Lord always remain aloof. Krishna very clearly told in Bhagavad Gita also, Avajananti Mahamudha Manushintanashrita. There are always a class of people who are never ready to believe in me. Right? Such people are always there. Our duty, our purpose is to try to help those people, feel compassion on them, while we are also growing in our bhakti, we also grow in our surrender. It's not that we are completely surrendered anyways. We want to surrender to the Lord, and at the same time help others to surrender to the Lord. So with that, I will conclude. If there is any small discussion or anything, you can take that. Thank you very much for attending this and encouraging me. Yes, any questions, any comments, please go ahead.
Hare Krishna. After a long time, we are hearing from you. How are you doing, Prabhuji? Thank you so much, Prabhuji, for wonderful class. Actually, I have one comment and one question. The comment is like you made about peel, right? We met Radhanath Swami Maharaj on Janmashtami Day. He made the same thing. He said, peel is appealing to Krishna when he's eating it. So I remember the comment made by Maharaj. That is so nice, Prabhuji. And the next question is about worship of demigods. So from childhood, we are raised like, if you do that prediction or if you do that puja, you'll get this. So it was as we grew up, it's been so many years, we grew up thinking, if you do that, you get this. So now we are in Krishna consciousness and we know what is right and what is wrong. But still, at the time of need, we'll get that intention that if I do that, I may get, so I have to pray in this way. Yeah. So at that time, what is the right way for us to think or like remind us about a person so that we'll get back to our what we call the present state of mind, maybe, and the constitutional positional as a soul, we should not do that. So please give us some story or something so that we get reminded of. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Thank you, Mataji. Thank you very much for what you spoke about Maharaj, and also thank you for the question. It's a very good question, Mataji. It's our tendency to seek out whatever we need from the Lord, and there is nothing wrong about that, because if I need something, I ask my father. If a child needs something, he asks his father. There is nothing wrong about that. But at the same time, a mature child, when he's grown up, he understands that my father is anyways giving me everything. I don't need to ask anything separately, right? So that kind of maturity we have to develop over a period of time. And such maturity also comes when we see devotees who are very selfless. They don't ask anything from Lord. It's not that asking something from Lord is nothing wrong, but at the same time, we don't need to ask anything, right? So when we ask something from the Lord, over a period of time, it actually becomes a habit where we start worshipping Lord in mode of passion. We come to a business deal again, saying that Lord, you give me, then I will worship you. That's what happens with Balaji Bhagwan here. Many people come here with that only, right? They want something from the Lord, and they say, they make a portion for the Lord. It's good, at least in that way they are coming to the Lord. I am not criticizing them, but then the attitude should not grow in that, because that is not very conducive for growing pure devotional service. Seeking from Lord is nothing wrong, because we are all children of God. We need something, it's good to ask Krishna. He is our father, and Krishna is a very intelligent father. He has his own ways and means of purifying us. He purified Dhruva, right? He purified Dhruva. He purified so many people. He purified Ajamila. He can purify us also very easily. We seek something from the Lord, ask from Lord, because he is our father, and he will purify us over a period of time. We have seen many devotees. We might have our own experience also. Initially, we come to ISKCON with some material desire. Even now we have, but the quality of desires might have changed. And we also understood that, my dear Lord, I want this. If you want to give, you give. Otherwise, I know that you are doing something good for me. That's our attitude right now. Right? For a period of time, this will also go away. We think that, oh my dear Lord, I don't need anything. We become like Prahlad Maharaj. That's a very, very exalted consciousness. Right? At this stage, we want something, we ask Lord, and if Lord gives us, we are happy. Otherwise, we don't complain, isn't it? but then the tendency is there from the past. So it's the difference between a childish son and a matured son, right? We are growing from one level to the other level. At least we are supposed to grow in that direction. And when we grow, Lord is also happy. He says that, okay, this child is growing nicely. He understands that I am supplying him everything. And he actually, a devotee also increases his gratitude to the Lord. He doesn't just keep on putting a list in front of Lord saying that, my dear Lord, I want this, after that, this, after that, this, after that. No, he doesn't do that. Over a period of time, what devotee thinks is, God has already given me everything, right? What I am asking from Lord is only for my sense gratification. That's all. Otherwise, whatever is necessary, Krishna has already provided us, isn't it? He has given us air to breathe. He has given us food 3 times, 2 times a day. We are not actually in a position where we are struggling for that. Krishna has already provided for that. For our entire life, he has provided, not only for us, for our dependents also, right? And this is given by Krishna only. And when we need something, as I said, there is nothing wrong in asking from Krishna. You can ask from demigods also, but the problem with asking from demigods is that they don't have the purifying potency, right? They actually, like Ishopanishad actually says, Shuddham apapa viddham, right? It is said, Shuddham means what? It is pure. Krishna is completely pure. So when we associate with pure, we also become pure. Prabhupada writes that in Ishopanishad actually. So basically, that's why we want to approach Krishna, even if we have material desires. And over a period of time, Krishna puts us in, through so many situations in our life. We don't leave Krishna, then we get realization even through misery. We leave Krishna and try to handle misery on our own, then we become frustrated with devotional service. That's what happens. Many people who leave Krishna consciousness is in this category. They leave Krishna's shelter. They are there. They have Kantimala, they have Tilak and all that. They actually leave shelter of Krishna and try to tackle with desires on their own. Then what happens? Then they don't get realization. They don't get nourishment, right? And Krishna puts them under the care of material nature. And then material nature takes care of them, right? But then we try to hold on to Krishna. We don't want to leave Krishna. Even if we have material desires, no problem. Whatever tendencies that we are bringing from the past will be purified. Definitely. There is no, Krishna purifies us thoroughly. We don't have to worry about Krishna's purifying potency, right? Only thing is we have to cooperate with Krishna. And that happens by minimizing our material desires. It's like, washing a dirty cloth and washing a not so dirty cloth. It's a relatively pure cloth. Now, which one requires more effort? The one which is dirty, you need to put it in, soak it in the soap for some time, then, wash it thoroughly, try to beat it against a rock or something like that. So if we have material desires, Krishna has to take that route, and that is more painful. And if we try to minimize our desires, we say that, my dear Lord, I am happy. Thank you. Whatever you have given me, I am very grateful. Then we naturally say no to all our other desires. Then what happens? Whatever little bit of anarthas are still remaining, Krishna does purify us in a very simple way. He doesn't have to put us through all that line of misery, right? So that's the difference, Mataji. I hope that is clear.
Yes, Prabhuji. Yeah, over the period, I think I will develop that quality, but please pray for us. Please pray for me too.
Pray
Thank
for
you so
me
much,
also,
Prabhuji.
Mataji. I am far away.
You are under the shelter of Balaji.
That's my only hope, Mataji.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna. Any other question? Any other comment?
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. So nice to hear you again. And thank you for giving us your updates. 4 times in a month to, visit the temple of Balaji. That's really, as Sundarila Mataji said, you need to pray for all of us whenever you go. So yeah, thank you so much for your nice class. And I do have one question that I personally struggle with.
Please go ahead.
You made a comment that, people, when they when the Lord is beyond, right? Like they cannot understand the Lord, so they just give up and say he doesn't exist because he doesn't fit in my tiny brain, according to what I know. So, even as a devotee, sometimes, like I personally, or like just hearing about the Lord and everything, when we hear that he's inconceivable, I also get that, okay, well, he's inconceivable, I can't really understand him, so why bother? Kind of a, thought comes to my mind. But of course, we are taught to, learn about Krishna, try to, hear about him, question, and, just try to understand. So if you can help me how to maybe just come out of this mentality that, okay, I can't understand him, so I'm not even going to try, kind of attitude, which is, of course, not very favorable, I feel. So yeah, Prabhu, that's my question, because, even we can struggle as trying to become a devotee.
That's a very good question, Mataji. Again, this is because it's not that our body alone goes through the modes of nature, Mataji. Even our mind, our intelligence, they all go through different modes of nature, actually. This is the influence of the lower modes, where we start thinking that, okay, anyways, Lord is inconceivable, so there is no point in trying, right? But then, if we see from the perspective of eternity, we understand that a jiva remains in the material world for millions and millions and millions of lifetimes, and only in the human form of life there is a way out, right? So thinking from this perspective actually brings a sense of urgency within us. And this human life is very short. Many people, many great devotees actually perfected their lives during in their human form. Actually, most of the devotees actually perfected in their human form. Of course, there are some who perfected in animal forms also, like Gajendra is there, Hanuman is there. They are their exceptions. But then human form is such a rare thing, and the goal of human life. So it is said, like 2-point formula. It is like glorification of Lord and purification of heart. This is the goal of human life. What is that? The glorification of Lord and purification of heart. Now imagine if we think that, okay, according to what you said, if we think that, okay, I can never understand Lord, but then what is the point in trying to understand? Then we miss the opportunity to glorify the Lord. So that means we actually lost one component of the two which I said. And if we don't glorify Lord, then we lose the opportunity to purify our hearts also. We cannot do that without glorifying Lord. So if we don't try to understand Krishna, then the purpose of human life is lost. So we have to try to understand Krishna. We have to. That's why it is said, Atato Brahma Jigyasa is also said. But then we also have to understand that Krishna is so great that I cannot understand him completely. I can understand him to the extent he reveals himself to me. And how much extent he will reveal himself to me is dependent on my endeavor. So we have the 2 fingers too short, right? Damodar Leela pastime. One is my endeavor. That is where it all starts. If I don't endeavor, Krishna has no personal interest in giving realization about him to me specifically. He doesn't have any personal, because he knows that this is a jiva who cheated me millions of times, millions of lifetimes, and he's like this, kabhi nahi sudrega. Now we took shelter of Guru, we took shelter of Srila Prabhupada, and they are recommending us, hey, please, my dear Lord, this fellow has cheated you so many times. Now I take personal guarantee that he will not cheat on you. That's what our Guru is recommending on behalf of us. Then that is Guru's responsibilities. Of course, he does that perfectly. But then what is our responsibility in this whole thing? We understand, okay, I cannot understand God, so let him be there, let me be here, we both are happy. That kind of attitude actually doesn't fulfill the purpose of human life. That's why we need to inquire about Lord, we need to hear about Lord. Then we will naturally glorify Krishna organically, and then that will actually purify our heart also. And the purpose of human life is solved, right? So basically it is said that Ata Sri Krishna Namadi na bhavet grahyam indriyam sevon mukehi jihvado swayam yavahi spuratyada. How to do that is a question. Then it comes like this: Ata Sri Krishna Namadi Na bhavet grahyam indriya. Grahyam indriya means our blunt senses cannot understand Krishna. That means the arohana procedure, that means trying to understand Krishna on my own, is an impossible task. It can never be fruitful. So it is recommended that na bhavet grahyam indriya sevon mukehi jihvadav. So you start serving Krishna through jihva. Jihva is tongue. So Prabhupada says tongue has two functions. One is tasting, second is vibrating. So taste Krishna Prasad and vibrate Krishna's holy name. When it starts with the tongue, then sevon mukehi jihvadav, what happens? What is the result? Then swayam eva hi spuratyada. Krishna himself reveals himself to us. Then we develop taste for Krishna. Many times we complain this, right? I don't have taste for chanting. I don't develop taste for chanting. Taste we cannot develop. It's impossible. Krishna has to give the taste, right? It is something like putting I gave this example in our earlier Sunday class. Like we put a plastic cover over our tongue and try to taste nice halwa. We can never see the taste of it, right? Similarly, we put the cover of offenses over our mind and try to chant Hare Krishna. It's impossible to realize Krishna. Then we have to slowly get rid of those offenses, try to endeavor. So that is where our endeavor comes into picture. When we do that, then Krishna gives us the taste. Then we don't leave Krishna, actually. Then our bhakti will be in the mode of goodness, right? It goes to goodness and then to pure sattva. So that is possible. I hope I tried to answer your question in a brief way, Mataji.
Yes, thank you, Prabhu. That was really helpful. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I guess it has gone beyond time. Maybe I should stop here. Lakshmikant Prabhu, I will stop here, Prabhu. Thank you very much for the opportunity, Prabhu.
Thank you so much, Prabhu. It was a wonderful class after some time. I think it looks like we didn't hear you from for ages.
Yeah. I am so happy to be here with all of you.
Thank you so much, Prabhu. Yeah, I think it was swapped, right? So with Vrindavan, that's why it was again another 2 weeks or so.
Yeah, right. Right.
Thank you so much, Prabhu. It's wonderful class. Lot of Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, everyone. Please keep praying for me. Hare Hare. Vancha kalpatarubhyasya kripa sindhubhya cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय, अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय, श्री प्रभुपाद की जय, इसका नेपरवेल भक्त वृंद की जय. हरि हरि बोल.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.